GravesideParanormal.com, Graveside Paranormal on YouTube. How's everybody liking the tour tonight? Adam, are you here? Talk to us.
Hello everyone, this is Neal with Graveside Paranormal presents Spirits by the Graveside. This is being recorded on 1/22/21. This is going to be aired on the 24th of 1/24/21. My special guest tonight is Tommy Leinweber. We are going to be talking about the deal with the devil and rock and roll. Would you do it? But first, what we're going to do is we are going to lead into the news. I want to introduce Tom Leinweber first. Hey, Tom, what's going on, dude?
Hey, Neal, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain, at least not yet. So, Tom is one of our people who works with us for Graveside Paranormal. We've been in a couple investigations. We're going to be doing an investigation on February 13th at a spiritual evangelical spiritual church over in Cicero, Illinois. They have some activity there, Tom, and we are going to be doing some filming there. We're going to try to do Facebook Live, and for the first time, we're going to do YouTube Live. I think that'll be really, really cool. I hope you're looking forward to it as well, Tom. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah. By the way, guess what? We might have a special surprise. Anahata 2. We are in the development of building Anahata 2. Me, Steve, and Michelle have been going over how to make a special box for this, and hopefully everything will be done by then, and we can present it on Facebook Live that evening, which would be really, really cool. It would be just awesome. But like every time we start a show, first we're going to start with a drink. I have my kombucha today. It is 3 Root Kombucha by Door Country. Now, I've been trying to be healthy. I haven't been drinking any alcohol because I am trying to be just a little bit healthier. So I'm going to pop the top. Oh, geez. It's just like alcohol because it ferments. So hold on. Let me just... Oh, Jesus Christ. As everybody can hear that. I'm going to give that let that relax for a minute. And let's get to, basically, the news of the day.
Playboy Penny, at it again. Read about it. Extra, place grad young fan. Extra, extra. Read all about it. Life story of Playboy Penny.
All right, news of the day from Weird News, Tom. A Toronto woman captured video of a squirrel on her fence with a knife in its hand. That's pretty weird. You ever hear of something like that?
In Chicago, I would expect the squirrel to actually probably have a gun. But it's Toronto, so I could see that.
Yeah. I could definitely see that too. It would actually probably have some kind of semi-automatic weapon here in Chicagoland area. At least she got lucky it was in Toronto. Where,
right, and it also would have been a carjacking in Chicago.
Yeah, so that would have led to a carjacking, exactly. And then they would have went to the beloved Cook County Jail. You know all about that, don't you, Tom?
I sure do, and I know you do too, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then that's going to lead us into another weird news thing. It's not really weird, but it comes from Weird News. Guess who is 91 years old? Buzz Aldrin is 91 years old.
Ooh, wow. I wonder if he can still pack a good punch.
You know what? That's his thing, is because people come up to him and say, hey, that moon landing was fake. And every time people go up to him, I mean, they get very, very angry. I mean, he gets very, very angry. And he starts punching people. You know, it makes you wonder, are you insulting the man? Or is there something, maybe it did happen, maybe it didn't happen. But nonetheless, happy birthday to him, Buzz Aldrin. He's 91 years old. Second man who walked on the moon. They actually put 91 candles on his cake, Tom. It's unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then over on Amazon Prime, I've been watching a lot of weird videos on Amazon Prime. They always have like paranormal videos and they have alien videos. So I try to find sometimes like the weirdest ones, just to see what's going on, if it's real or not, basically. And I came across a thing called Beyond the Spectrum, Tom. It's cases of possible ET visitations caught on camera throughout history. Some of the stories are backed by incredible videos. Now, I was watching this last night. And as I was watching it last night, there were some really odd videos. I can't prove or disprove that these people were, this was fake or wasn't fake. But one of the videos in the beginning is in Mexico about maybe 10 years. No, it was back in 1992, where this young kid and the other kid are playing soccer, and they go past this pole, and out from the pole comes an arm out of nowhere with a head that looks like an alien head, what you would think as an alien head of what people have always talked about. And this video was completely weird. So I recommend this video. It seems hokey when you start watching it, and you start going, yeah, there are a couple ones that are like, yeah, that's kind of bullcrap. But I don't know. There's a couple other ones, like there's this one that's on a baseball field, Tom, where you don't see this thing, but it's glittering, and it looks like a frame of like a small child. Some kind of being is on the baseball field with these kids. It was really, really freaky. So I recommend people to go ahead and check that out if they can. That would be a very, very cool little video to do. Tom, maybe you go on Amazon Prime, don't you?
I do, but I haven't seen that, and I'm going to definitely look for that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I would look forward to. And like what I said before, check out also that we're going to be doing the thing on the 13th, and we're going to be doing the YouTube Live, so that's our other little news of the day. And so that is going to lead us into, with Tom, we're going to talk about the devil and the crossroads. Can you make a deal with the devil? A deal with the devil is a pact. Either you're looking for fame, fortune, knowledge, or maybe staying young. But for some reason, you go ahead and you make a deal with the devil. If all of a sudden you want to be the best at what you do, are you willing to go ahead and make that deal with the devil? Well, tonight's show we'll be talking about that. And I'm going to start the show with an awesome song. The Devil Went Down to Georgia. That is an awesome song. That thing has been coming through the ages, generations for years. But before we get to time and we were going to be doing that, let's talk about the folk tales, the devil and the music. A lot of these stories date back several centuries. A guy by the name of Tartini, back in 1713. 1713, Tartini made a pact with his soul, with the devil. In his dream, and the devil played, and when Tartini woke up, he had the devil's, he could play the fiddle, but after a dream that he had, he was able to play it like you would not believe after that. That's dating back to 1713. Then a Mr. Pagini, who at the age of 12 years of age, he began performing, and people believed that when they saw him play, it looked like he was going so fast on the fiddle that they thought that it was fire coming from the fiddle. Some people believe that he made a deal with the devil. Now there's two Mr. Johnsons. There's a Tommy Johnson and a Robert Johnson, who probably went to the crossroads and made a deal with the devil. Tommy Johnson went to the crossroads before midnight, and it's always around midnight that you go ahead and do this, Tom, and met a very large black man who turned his guitar, and after that he became a legend. That was Tommy Johnson, Tom. not Tommy Leinweber. Robert Johnson in the 1920s, originally Mr. Johnson. Now this is the one that most people know about, is that he was somebody who really was not playing very well, but he left the community for about a year. Mr. Keith Richard listened to Robert Johnson back in the day before supposedly he made a deal with the devil at the crossroads. He made that deal with the devil at the crossroads, a lot of people believed, because when he came home, he played like never before. Rumor came around that Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads at midnight. Now, we all remember the movie, the Ralph Macchio movie, Crossroads, back in 1986, with Steve Vai. That was an excellent movie. I love that movie. Tom, did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, Steve Vai is an incredible guitarist too, by the way.
Oh yeah, that guy there, man. He played with David Lee Roth at one time, I believe.
Oh yeah, he's played with many people, and like all his solo stuff. It's a little bit weird with the lyrics and everything that he has in there and the vocals, but the guitar playing is just amazing.
Yeah, when they did that in the movie The Crossroads, the going back and forth, I thought that was just so amazing. But Tom, what we're going to talk about is, can people make a deal with the devil? And let's talk about some history of heavy metal. Let's start out with Mr. Dave Mustaine. He said he dabbled in witchcraft at a young age, but he was a Christian, and now he says he is he's stronger because of it, because now he's a Christian. Can you give us a little background on what what went on with Mr. Dave Mustaine?
Sure. He actually started messing around with black magic back in high school. There's two known hexes that he talks about that he did in high school. The first one was with this guy that was a real jerk to him, and he pretty much did a hex to make the guy, get an injury of some kind, and he didn't think much of it, but then a few weeks later the dude broke his leg, and it was really bad.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that story, and he talks very adamant about that story, and I think a lot of the other things that happened to him, didn't he became an alcoholic and started getting drugs, correct?
Yeah, there's all kinds of that happened, but there was the second hex he did that he talks about. He probably did more of these, but he did a sex hex on a girl.
Really? And
the next day he slept with her. So he started doing these little things, and things started happening for him. So he's like, wow, this is cool. So, he had the guy getting hurt. It was a broken leg. He didn't die or anything. And then he, ended up sleeping with that girl after he did the sex hex. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this in my music and my lyrics and everything. And in 1986, well, he was originally with Metallica. A lot of people forget that. Right. But he was the original guitarist in Metallica. And he had a falling out with them and ended up leaving and formed Megadeth. In 1986, they made their masterpiece album entitled Peace Sells, But Who's Buying?
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And on
excellent
this album,
album.
he had the song The Conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
And The Conjuring, from what he says, actually has instructions of performing a specific hex. And later in his career, he wouldn't even play the song anymore. When he found, became a Christian and got away from this stuff, he would not even play the song anymore because he was afraid of its power and what it could do and the bad things that it could cause to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually, you were talking about him getting into alcohol and drugs and just really bad negative stuff, and he mentions that like, oh man, people say Dave's had a rough life and bad things happening. He's like, you know what? I brought this on. I really believe I did by dabbling in the occult and dabbling in black magic. And I really think what messed him up with The Conjuring, it's a theory I have. He wrote The Conjuring in 86, and Metallica released Master of Puppets that year, and they went on tour in Europe performing the Master of Puppets tour. Great album, too.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in Sweden. Cliff Burton, the amazing bass player of Metallica, was playing a card game with Kirk Hammett to decide who gets which bunk or whatnot. One of them wanted to sleep on this top bunk that was preferred. Burton wins, ends up getting the top bunk. no big deal. He brags about it. Hammett's like, oh, whatever, the other one's better anyway. Anyway, later on, early that morning, the bus crashed, hit some black ice, and Cliff Burton was thrown from the bus. It landed on him and killed him instantly.
Right.
Mustaine went through a lot of his stuff after that. I really think he wrote The Conjuring to do a hex on Metallica, not at Cliff Burton. He was probably aiming more for Lars because he had, his feud more with Lars. But, maybe he directed that negative energy to the band itself, and it cost Cliff Burton his life.
So basically what I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's just, I really think ever since then, he's been completely freaked out by this.
Wow. And
he went on the drug binge, the alcohol, everything. And then he found Christianity later, and he won't even play this song with the actual full lyrics to this day.
So you're saying that just like with the girl and the guy with the broken leg, he probably believed in himself that, hey, I've done this a couple of times. And you know what? Metallica kicked me to the road, man.
Yep.
You know what? I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to come up and I'm going to conjure something.
Right.
Now, you know what? I do believe when energy like that does happen, when somebody is that powerful into their thought and their emotions, yeah, I do believe things like that can happen. I truly do. I'm a big believer in that, and that's a shame that someone had to die. And it's not saying that actually did happen, but what I'm saying is things like that can happen, whereas somebody is like so full of hate that it just comes out of them and it is projected. And sure, it's a possibility. Maybe it did happen. Do you think what we're talking about tonight, do you think that's a possibility? To sell your soul, make a pact with the devil, so that you can have fame, fortune, or whatever goes with it. Do you think that's possible, Tom?
I really think anything's possible. It's just, it might not necessarily be a deal with the devil. It can be directly related to the devil, but anything with negativity, negative energy, even if it's not something paranormal, it could just be an attraction of negative. It could be a law of physics that we don't know about. Who knows?
Right. And for every contract, it's not like the devil came out of the ground and said, hey, I got this contract for you. Bring your lawyer. I want him to read all the way through this. Take, for instance, Robert Johnson, okay? He died a short time later. You may have gotten all that fame and fortune. Let's say this is true. You got all that fame and fortune, and all of a sudden you're able to play like you never played before. But is it really something that you read about? Because the devil just told you, hey, man, I'm going to give you what you want. But all I want in return is that soul. Do you give that soul away?
It's interesting because you think of the 27 Club. All the big musicians that were like incredible musicians that died at age 27. Did they make a deal with the devil that we don't know about? And they got their fame and fortune, and then bam, it's over.
Yeah, you just never ever know. Some people, due to the way supposedly the heavy metal genre is, I shouldn't use the word genre, the way it's looked at is that a lot of people think that it's like black magic and stuff like that, and some people, they really, really get into it. And they, like Ozzy, even though Ozzy is a Christian, but some people fall for it, that they're going like, all right, deal with the devil, man. And, they start, they get deep with it. They start going to like seances and this and that. And next thing you know, they're trying to do it because, maybe their buddy said, hey, man, you're not playing really good on them drums, man. You got to start doing better. You want to be able to get to where we're at? Well, then you got to get better. And then all of a sudden...
I actually have a great example of that.
Go ahead, please.
Well, we all know the great metal band Slayer. One of my favorites. They have some pretty crazy fans, out there. And there's some that are just kind of like me. We get in a pit, we let our energy out, but it's just, it's a brotherhood in the pit, and it's kind of like a scary movie put to music to us. It's entertainment. We're like, yeah, we throw up our devil horns and say,
yeah,
we yell the name Slayer, and we get a little crazy at the shows, but we're not worshiping the devil or anything like that. We're just having a good time and enjoying pretty much a horror movie put to music.
Right.
That's how I like to think of it. But you got these fans that are extremely obsessed and take it to another level. They don't even pay attention that Tom Araya, the lead singer of Slayer, is devout Catholic. You know, as evil as their lyrics can be, you know, the guy's a Catholic. And then there's like, they have some songs about, you know, Joseph Mengele, the angel of death, the Nazi doctor who experimented, you know, did all these bad experiments in Auschwitz. And, you know, it's just, they're World War II buffs. They're historians, too. They like to tell stories. They're not here to tell a happy story. You got all these other pop bands telling their happy stories. No, they're here to tell you something scary, because that's what they are. That's their image.
Right.
But they have these three fans that worship them, and they have their own band, too. And they thought they had to do something like to be more like Slayer and be like a big name metal band. And they ended up kidnapping this girl. Her name was Elise Pauler. And they ended up they raped her, tortured her, murdered her. They would return back to the corpse weeks later and perform necrophilia acts on her. And they did all this thinking that it would help their band be more evil, probably a deal with the devil, and they would become famous and be big-time heavy metal musicians. Obviously, three very sick individuals.
Right.
The parents of this girl, they wanted to sue Slayer. They said it's their fault. The lyrics that they have caused these kids to do this. And it went to court. The judge, in the end, he just pretty much said, I would have to go to if I said they're responsible, I will have to go to the library and censor all the books and remove all these scary books and everything. Mm-hmm. Because is that suggesting that someone should do what this fiction tale says to do? So basically, they're saying they're not responsible. They were just entertaining, making music, and like I'm saying, like a scary movie, put the music. That's basically the same thing the judge was saying.
Right, and that it just goes to it just goes to show you, people can be influenced by things, but it wasn't meant to be influenced in a certain way. But people do, like you're talking about that drummer. He went and did what he did. What they did was really, really evil and wrong, and they really probably in their mind they really thought, "Hey, man, I'm going to make this deal."
Yep.
And it's so crazy. But you got to also think some people have mental illnesses.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Mental illnesses, and that combination with bad parenting. It's like, how did three guys come up with this? Well, you have one that's mentally ill, but he's like a Charles Manson. He's got charisma, and he's able to get people to follow him and believe in him. I think one of these three kids had that, and the other two just like, yeah, this dude knows what he's saying. I'm following him. I'm getting it. Probably because they didn't have a strong family at home. He was like their father figure, even though he's a friend.
Right.
So he was able to bring them into this and, see his delusions.
Right. And a lot of people, majority of people are in like the rock and roll, heavy metal, hair metal, whatever you want to call it. It's just for fun, ladies and gentlemen. It has that look. Yeah, it's supposed to make you go, oh my God, what is that? It's supposed to scare you. But that's the impression. That's the whole impression of it. Take, for instance, Dee Snider with Gore's wife, Al Gore's wife. That famous thing. Yeah, that famous thing where he has Twisted Sister. He dresses up like these weird females and this and that. And I love Twisted Sister. Love Dee Snider. Mm-hmm. And if you looked at him the first time, be like this, oh, I didn't think that man could speak so eloquently and so intelligently.
Yeah, very articulate. I mean, he spoke very well. He impressed the judge. They look at him like, who is this guy? But he's just showing he's an entertainer.
Yeah.
And he's very intelligent and articulate, and he can speak his mind. But he's just saying that's not where the problem is. It's not in the entertainers.
It's in the individual.
Yeah.
It is. Do you have any other things where other little bands, like certain little stories that are kind of like the one that you just told us?
Well, we were kind of touching on Satanism and things like that, and a lot of that is stage presence and storytelling. But there's like two different kinds of Satanism really that are out there. And one is the entertainer King Diamond. He's a Danish metal guy.
Seen him.
Originally from the band Merciful Fate. Really talented individual. He calls himself a LaVeyan Satanist, which is basically Anton LaVey's Church of Satan, which really is not even a religion. It's a mockery of religion. They're really, truly just atheists, and they kind of make fun of it. They have their little rituals they do, but it's really nothing religious at all. It's just saying, do what you think is right.
That was out of Hollywood, California, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny you use that word, Hollywood, because there's that theistic Satanism, which the lead singer of a band called Deicide, which means to kill a god, claims to be a theistic Satanist. And he has a branded inverted cross on his forehead. And he says, yeah, that LaVeyan Satanism, he calls it Hollywood Satanism. He says it's just fake. It's not the real thing. I'm the real thing, you know. But when it comes down to it, Glenn Benton, I really think it's just an act. And you know, they sell records for it. They're really good. The band's really good. You don't have to like the guy, but if you're into death metal at all, it's an amazing band, and his vocals are so evil, and it just goes with the music. It's like the scariest movie that you're watching. You know, it's really cool. The guy's if he's for real, the stuff that he says, he's just an idiot and whatever. But I still listen to his music.
You know who's another really good, and I know we're talking about that deals with the devil and stuff like that, but when you're talking about like scary movies or stuff like that, and you introduced me to the group Creepshow.
Oh, yeah.
And that group there, man, I really enjoy that group. I like listening to that young lady's voice, man. It's just so good.
Oh, yeah, Kendo's great.
Yeah, man.
They're not metal. I mean, they have a little metal and punk influence, but they're what you call kind of like a psychobilly band.
Yeah.
So they got that rockabilly, punked-up version, but it's all horror themed. So, you know, a lot of their songs are based off of horror and things like that. But when people hear it, just like you, they don't even think about the devil or anything like that, you know, anything evil. They're like, oh, this is really cool. It's catchy. It's cool. I like it.
Dude, I'm telling you, a lot of
it's not that different than some of the metal stuff, you know, the lyrics and everything, what they're singing about. And it's all in fun. It really is. What
about Danzig? Do you think he made a deal with the devil?
I don't know. I think he would have grown a little taller if he did.
Kind of like me? I like Danzig back in the day, man.
What's that?
I like Danzig back in the day. I mean, he was like one of those first...
And Misfits. Oh, my God. They were the original Misfits with him. Amazing. Danzig's voice is incredible. I mean, and it's so good with the Misfits music. He may have made a deal. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, to me, he's one of those guys who had that look right away of that heavy metal kind of look.
He's got that darkness.
Yeah, that darkness.
Like serial killers have.
Before Dexter?
Yeah.
But Dexter wears a nice little shirt every time he's out in Miami. So.
Oh, yeah, he does. He puts on a good mask.
Yeah. By the way, just not to get off subject, but just so our viewers know, Dexter is going to be coming back. He's going to be coming back to Showtime. I guess this upcoming year, sometime in the spring, I think it is. But moving on.
The great part about that, too, it's going to be the original producer and writers from like the first 4 or 5 seasons when it was really good.
Yeah, that was, man, that's so good of a show. The last season, though, not so much. But
Right.
All right, moving on. Right now, what we're going to do is we are going to take a break. We are going to have a message from Graveside Paranormal. If you can hold the line, Tom, can you hold the line for me? All right, we're going to take a break at this time with a message from Graveside Paranormal. This is Neal with Graveside Paranormal and Spirits by the Graveside. Every Sunday night at 7 o'clock, we will be on Anchor FM, Spotify, as well as YouTube channel of the episodes that we do. We also do investigative tours throughout the Chicagoland area through Graveside Paranormal Investigative Tours. And also we do investigate the paranormal. So if you have a problem or anything like that, we are more than happy to help. Our number is 708-227-7747. Once again, 708-227-7747. Boo. All right, we're back. Black metal bands we're going to talk about. Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and of course Ozzy have endured throughout time. Do you think, Tom, that showmanship on stage is just that?
Those
Or
bands,
go ahead.
those bands that you just mentioned, it's showmanship, entertainment completely.
Yeah. So
I really believe that. The things that they've done, it was, especially for its time, people are like, oh my God, these guys are Satanists, and they're not.
right. The best art is always Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden has the best art out there.
Oh, the artwork's phenomenal.
The artwork is just freaking phenomenal. So we're going to say black metal bands. We're going to say that probably no deals with the devil, just playing the role.
The black metal you're speaking of?
Of what I'm speaking of, yeah.
And that's like pretty much the bands you mentioned. It was kind of the start of it, yeah.
All right. So what about blackened death metal, which has a small number of Norwegian bands that have threatened violence to Christians, and a lot of lyrics refer to occult subjects and death. Do you know or think that they made a pact with the devil, Tom?
I don't know if they did or didn't, but their actions are really showing, something very evil, especially the band Mayhem. They're pretty much the originators of Norwegian black metal. It's just incredible, the stories of this band. The main guy that started the band, I'm going to go by their stage names because their Norwegian names are pretty tough, but they pretty much went by the stage names. The main guy was Euronymous.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guitarist that started it and came up with like the main sound, the guitar riffs of Norwegian black metal.
Mm-hmm.
The bass player, Necro Butcher, the drummer was Hellhammer, and their names were great. I mean, great stage names. But they were looking for like a vocalist. They already had a following with their instrumental stuff there, but they wanted a vocalist, and they found this guy who answered one of their ads from Sweden. He went by the name of Dead. And the way he sent a tape to them, he mailed it to them, and they're like, what's that smell? They opened it up, and it had like a dead mouse on a cross crucified. And they're like, what is this? They threw it out. They're like, yuck. And then they were going to throw the tape out, and Euronymous was like, no, I want to hear the tape. I want to hear the tape. So they played the tape. They put it in the tape player, and they're like, wow, I've never heard vocals like this. It was just crazy, guttural screaming, and they're like, this is just like perfect. So they got Dead, and he became a part of the band.
Wow.
Dead was really messed up. He grew up, he was picked on left and right, so he was very depressed. He just was really weird.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to really look dead and be dead. So he would bury his stage clothes days before a concert and then dig them up and put on corpse paint so he could look extra dead for the shows as he was performing. He was that into it. He would go on stage and put on the show, and towards the end, he would like just start cutting himself on stage. Blood would somewhat squirt on people in the front row.
Like real? So he's
like
using
real, no, total anti-Guar. Guar shoots the fake blood. No, Mayhem was the real deal. They were getting real blood shot at some of the crowd members, and they're like, yeah, these Norwegian teenagers. This is cool. Wow, I've never seen anything like this.
Now, did this?
That was messed up. I mean, he was even freaking Euronymous about a little bit, but he liked it because Euronymous was about the image, and he wanted to. He just wanted the band to get big off of that, is what I really believe.
Okay.
But
go ahead.
they ended up getting this old house together, and they would make their music there and everything. But Euronymous came home one day and found that Dead had slit his wrist, the right, going down horizontally on his arms, and then took a shotgun and blew his head off. And when he did that, he also left lyrics for a song called Life Eternal, which they later on ended up having on the album. But Euronymous was pretty messed up, too, because if he first saw it, he's like, oh, well, man, this is messed up. And then he's like, saw opportunity. And he took a picture of the scene. It ended up on one of the bootleg albums, of Dead lying there dead in a pool of blood. You can actually find this online. You can find this album, this bootleg album, and get it. And it's the real death scene of him, of his suicide. Mm. But then he actually claims to have taken brain fragments and cooked them up into a stew and ate it. I don't believe it, because I think he was more of the, just making a story out of it because it's, something that can sell some more records. But he did also take skull fragments of the bone and made necklaces out of it. And anyone who was ever in the band, new members, would get one of those necklaces, which was supposed to be part of a skull fragment of Dead's skull.
So, would you believe that they were in the occult, or do you think they were just a bunch of evil people?
Dead was just really screwed up mentally. He was mentally ill.
So he had a mental illness.
Yeah, I don't... he sang about death and was fascinated with death. That's all it was to him. He wanted to die, and he wanted to die young, and it was just that weird for him,
Did they have a big following?
They had a big following, a big cult following. No pun intended on that, but in Norway, obviously. But when this happened, it got even bigger, which is crazy. You think they'd lose some fans from that, but not there, because black metal just blew up.
Now,
other bands were copying their style and forming new different things to do. But after Dead died, Necro Butcher, he was too freaked out by everything that happened. He left. A guy called Necro Butcher was actually scared. So they ended up getting this other guy, Varg is the name he went by. He was the new bass player, but he really believed in Satanism. He said he was a Satanist. He joined the band thinking that's what they were really into, what they were about, but then he just started realizing Euronymous was more of just about the promotion and everything. He started, questioning him, thinking he was kind of a poser, but he got him to burn a church down with him in Norway.
Was anybody in the church? Did anybody die?
No, they did it at night. And Euronymous did it, but I think that was the only one he probably did do with him. But Varg kept doing it. He kept burning down Norwegian churches, man. He just kept doing it. And they had this whole following that they called the Black Circle, and other people started doing it. It was like a total of 50 churches that they burned down to battle Christianity.
What?
And it was all from the mind of Varg, and he was, and I really believe to this day, he just really believes in that, and he's a Satan worshiper.
Now, they're in prison, aren't they, or something?
What's that?
They got to be in prison.
Well, this is what happened. They were being investigated. They couldn't prove anything at the time. But Varg and Euronymous were just drawn further and further apart, and they were not liking each other at all. And Euronymous wanted Varg out of the band. Varg wanted to leave anyways and just do his own thing. But they ended up meeting up at Euronymous' apartment one night, and it just turned into this big argument, and Varg stabbed Euronymous 23 times and killed him. Saying he claimed it was self-defense. Yeah, 23 stab wounds.
That's self-defense, man. Come on.
Yeah. So, yeah, he ended up killing him, and he went to jail for that. He got convicted of 1 or 2 church burnings from that. But I don't know if you ever looked up Norwegian jail. It's kind of like a nice hotel there, and he's out now and everything.
He's out?
Not just he's like not just a Satanist. He's like a neo-Nazi. It's just a real scumbag.
All right, let me get this right. Let me just stop you for 1 second, Tom, and I pardon
you. Yeah.
So, about what year did he commit this murder? Was it in the 90s, 2000s?
Early 90s.
Early 90s.
Like, yeah, it was like 91, I think, when he killed Euronymous. He was with the band like 89-ish is when he came with them, so like only 2 years. Yeah.
And so he's out and about, and he's doing what he does and probably going to kill another person.
Right, and I think he did it just to prove he was the real deal and more evil. And how we were talking about that 27 Club and people selling their soul for rock and roll, they become rich and famous, but they don't do anything else. They don't do anything evil, and then they end up dying young. Maybe this guy made a deal with the devil, and he didn't die young because he's still doing his deeds. He's still serving the devil. He's still worshiping the devil. He's doing his work here on earth.
Wow.
That's an interesting look at it.
That's actually a very... What happens if the devil said to him, all right, man, I'm going to make you my best soldier ever. I'm going to give you what you want.
He's going to be a lieutenant when he goes down there.
Yeah, he's got to be something. Let me ask you this, Tom. that 27 Club, can you name majority of those names? Because I can't.
Off the top of my head, you got Jim Morrison, who was just a big druggie and really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Very talented. Jimi Hendrix.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Janis Joplin. Yeah, I think she was 27.
Okay.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain?
Yeah, Kurt Cobain was 27.
Okay.
I don't know any satanic things with him or anything, but, you know, that's the few off the top of my head, but it's much greater than that. There's a lot more. Maybe not so famous, but definitely, you know, some big-time musicians.
All right.
I can't think of any, you know, real known ones that said they're Satan worshipers or anything like that. But those, they're not. They just made a deal. You know, hey, I want to be famous and do this, and you know, when I die, okay, you have my soul.
Yeah,
so
you
don't
never
think about dying young.
Like take for instance Robert Johnson, the one I was telling you about in the 1920s. He wasn't a devil worshiper.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, could it be just that? Hey, I want to be something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make that deal with the devil. And then next thing you know, he's the greatest blues guy out there. And next thing you know, I think it was very short time later, he was found dead. And I think it was because... Go ahead.
They make this deal and like, I want to be this for the rest of my life. But they don't realize, you're going to die at 27, dude.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these people, a lot of these younger people, yeah, they died very early. They got all this fame and fortune. And, you know, maybe they were picked on. I don't know. And all of a sudden they turn that different corner. And next thing you know, the devil's like there, go, hey, man, I got something for you. I'm going to give you whatever you want. Just give me that soul.
Yep.
All right, let's...
Like I say, the only one I can think of that actually just kept doing evil deeds is that Varg guy from Mayhem. And he's still going.
Yeah, he's
out of jail now, too.
Jesus Christ. That's horrible that they let people like that out, man. Yeah,
there's no death penalty there. There's no life sentences. And the prisons in Norway, Google it, dude. It's like, man, I've stayed at hotels that are worse.
Let's talk about Alice Cooper. Vincent Furnier. Did you know that he actually got his name from Ouija board?
I didn't know that.
Yes, he got his name from Ouija board. There's a fact. Jimmy Page. Now you know Jimmy Page. Who doesn't know Jimmy Page? Led Zeppelin. Great guitarist. He's actually a self-proclaimed devil worshiper. Did you know that?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I didn't read up a whole lot on it, but yeah, I do remember it, and there was a whole deal with Stairway to Heaven and all that, and, you know, it having some meaning with that.
Yeah, he was a follower of Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
Mr. Crowley from Ozzy Osbourne song.
Right, Mr. Crowley.
Do you think some of these lyrics are taken out of context, like we talked about the Al Gore wife thing?
Of course.
Definitely. What about today's groups that are out there? Are they any different? Are they a little more, we'll say, like you're talking about your Norwegian groups, are there still heavy black metal like that out there? Or is there...
There is, but they're not, I mean, they're not doing anything extreme on the, you know, other than on stage. It's, you know, nothing like Mayhem did, but they say they're the same, they believe the same stuff, but I think most of them are just, it's part of the act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about... Go ahead.
You know, it's like the younger generation, they're a lot softer, too, now.
You know, Charles Manson, I guess I understand what he did, but they actually said that some of the songs that he wrote were actually pretty good. And
they really were.
Yeah, that a lot of people have said that. I think it was the guy from the Beach Boys.
Yeah, Dennis Wilson.
Yeah, Dennis Wilson. Can you imagine if Mr. Manson made a deal with the devil and it just didn't turn out the way that he thought it was going to turn out? You know, like maybe he was thinking a little rock and roll, because I guess he was actually good at what he was doing.
It really could have been, you know, or maybe he didn't go that far because how he thought he was a deity himself, you know. He thought he was God, man's son, you know, that's how he liked to call himself. So maybe he never made that deal because he thought he was already, you know, that leader, you know. He was pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. You think? He was a good manipulator. Very good.
He was excellent at it. That's what I was saying, the charisma that he had. I mean, look what he made those people do.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you never know if he made a deal, but it just wasn't the deal that was supposed to happen for him. Or maybe he wanted to make a deal, you know, for what did happen. I don't know. But is there any other things like groups or anything like that you'd like to talk about that you believe that maybe had an influence with the occult or the devil?
Well, a lot of them have an influence from that, but they just use it as really as an entertainment aspect.
Yeah.
And they'll get the young people that follow, like, oh, yeah, I'm into this, yeah, hail Satan, this and that, and then they outgrow it after a year or two.
Yeah.
There's not really anyone out right now that I can think of that's, like, really a satanic musician.
Because I've seen...
Other than, like that Glenn Benton guy from Deicide. That's all an act. I don't buy it.
Yeah. Because I've actually seen people who go out to certain areas with the Ouija boards. And and I tell a lot of people, it's not the Ouija board, it's the intent of the individual that's going to do this. If I have intent in my mind to do something, I'm going to do it, no matter what it is. And I've seen these guys and girls go out there, sacrifice things, and do this and that, and do all these things that they read, and they think that they're going to get some kind of special powers or something like that. My opinion is, I think there is something that's out there that has given extra influence to people that, I think maybe some people have made a deal, but I don't really know because I wasn't there. But I think it's a very possible thing, because when you go back to the Robert Johnson story from the 1920s, it's an amazing story when you actually read about it, that he really was not very talented, but within 1 year, anybody who's not very talented, you're not all of a sudden going to become like a Jimmy Page in 1 year.
No.
It's going to take a lot of time. But from 1 year to go back, and he comes back into the town, and he is what he is. And it goes back to the crossroads, that you're making a deal with the devil at midnight. What do you think, Tom? Do you think that could be real?
I really think anything can be. I always take the skeptic outlook, as you know.
Right.
So I always try to find reason and logic for things to happen, but there's many times where I come at a crossroads myself, and I'm like, I don't know. But I'm not going to say, yeah, that's a deal with the devil, or, yeah, that's definitely a paranormal sighting or whatnot. I just say, I don't know what that is, and it's freaking me out.
Right. Yeah, and
I don't know.
Yeah, and you and I have been to a couple places where, you're like, what the hell is that? Like that EVP that we got at Whispers Estate, man.
Oh man, yeah.
That was that was evil, man.
I was doing that recording with James, and you guys were all away from us, and you said you got to hear this. I mean, I was the one that was there. Yeah. And then when I heard the recording, I just couldn't believe it. Like, how do you don't explain that? That's one of the best pieces of evidence that really has me perplexed.
Yeah, and you know what's really cool is how much really cool evidence we have come across from the time that we've been doing this. It is amazing. I put out these videos and this and that, and some of the things that we catch, I'm surprised. It takes people years and years to find a lot of these things, and it's not to knock on wood or slap ourselves on the back. We're just good at what we do.
Yeah,
we're very blessed. We're very happy, and that we get what we get.
The creepier part about it, though, is you watch these shows like, yeah, that's fake. But when you're doing it yourself, and you're not doctoring anything, and you were there, and you get a piece of evidence like we get, it's just, you get chills.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome, though. I love it. I love doing what we do. I really do. Tom, I want to thank you for coming on today and helping us out, broaden our minds on this. That is Tommy Leinweber. Tom, thanks for coming out tonight. And if you want to say goodbye to everybody.
Thanks, Neal. I really appreciate you having me on this. So, I love this subject. So.
Oh, I know you do. Tom is Tom. If anybody who knows Tom Leinweber, man, all throughout the summer, he's at some kind of band or something like that, or some venue, Riot Fest or whatever venue is going on. And we're getting a little bit older, but this guy's still going out there and going in these mosh pits and this and that, whereas I'd be like this, no, I'm good. Well, this knucklehead, he goes out there and he just runs out there like a maniac. I'm not gonna give away our age, but but he runs out there still like a maniac. And
That's the thing that keeps me sane.
Yeah, you know what? And that's for him. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is what he needs. He needs it. So I thank Tom once again for coming out. I'm going to lead us out with, before I do, I always say,